Now to part 2 and the conclusion of our interview with poet and bookseller Beau Beausoleil. In response to the March 5, 2007 bombing of Al-Mutanabbi Street in Baghdad, Beau called the artist community together in an effort to preserve the cultural and artistic legacy of Al-Mutanabbi Street. Mr. Beau Beausoleil is co-editor of the anthology Al-Mutanabbi Street Starts Here. Poets and writers respond to the March 5, 2007 bombing of Baghdad's Street of Booksellers.
You know, the people who went to Al-Mutanabbi Street in 2007, the sectarian fighting was at a height. The occupation and raids were at a height by American forces. And yet the people who went to that street, somehow, in this stubborn belief in the strength and the beauty of literature and books within their own culture, felt protected on that street. I mean, people came there on Fridays when all the books were taken out from the stores, and itinerant sellers would show up and put their books, you know, in temporary stalls and on tables and even on cars to sell books. People would flock there. It was where, if you were an Iraqi writer visiting from any part of Iraq, you would gravitate to Al-Mutanabbi Street. If you were a student at Baghdad University, you were more than likely to run into a fellow student or a professor. It's where a writer would run into other writers. There's a great essay in the anthology by the Iraqi writer Lutfiya Al-Dolemi. And she starts out her essay by saying, no matter what the documents of my birth show, what province I was born in, this is where I was born. I was born on Al-Mutanabbi Street the day that my first book came out. That's what the street meant to Iraqis. And Anthony Shadid did this incredible essay about that, with that feeling in it. And tragically, Muhammad Hayawi was killed in that explosion and lost his life. And so Anthony Shadid, when I wrote him about our project, immediately understood the project. He understood the importance of it, not just to the Iraqi people, but to us here in the West. And he both said, yes, you can use my own piece, but then he gave me the direct email for the director of the National Library in Baghdad, Dr. Saad Eskandar, truly heroic librarian who has maintained the library through everything. I wrote to Dr. Eskandar. I told him about the broadsides that we were making. I told him we wanted to take one set and donate it to the library and the Iraqi people in solidarity and in recognition of all the suffering that the cultural community and the Iraqi people had gone through, and that we did not want to have this kind of silence as if that suffering could only go so far, that we wanted to take that suffering into ourselves and acknowledge it and respond to it. And he understood that immediately, and he said, I want these broadsides for the National Library, for the archive. I think it's important that the Iraqi people see this work. And only about a month ago, we got the broadsides, 130 broadsides, to the National Library in Iraq, and he is going to start exhibiting them.
Has the exhibit started yet? Has there been a reaction?
Not yet. It's going to be sometime in April. Some of them will be exhibited at the Iraq Poetry Society are going to exhibit some of them on Al-Mutanabbi Street in conjunction with a nationwide poetry festival. So that'll be the first chance for people to encounter. There have been stories in, one story in the Baghdad newspaper about the project with pictures of some of the broadsides and the artist books as well. So the Iraqi cultural community is beginning to know about us, at least in small ways.
And what has their initial reaction been to the project?
Well, it's been, as you can imagine, it's been varied. There is an old Arabic saying about the idea of killing someone and then going to their funeral. So some people in the cultural community in Iraq have attacked us for doing just that. You're part of this, and now you want to mourn this. And you want to do this. You want to mine something from this for yourself. My feeling is that we have no hidden agenda, and we will continue to do what we can do. I mean, there are always, I cannot tell you how many Iraqis have come up to me after readings and just said to me, I want to thank you for helping people see us as people, not unlike themselves. I mean, right here, we're right in front of them. And they've been very, very moved by what we're trying to do. I have no illusions about how big this project is, nor how important it is. I like to say that Iraq is like the darkest room in the house of the United States. And this project is like one small lamp in one far off corner. I mean, we illuminate one day, one bombing, in the midst of this huge war and occupation. So I don't have any illusions that we're going to, it's not like we're going to shift the entire world, but we will do something, and we will not merely go home. We will not cease to have a presence. The people that I admire are the people, the activists who do not go home. They are people like the mothers who went day after day to the plaza in Argentina, holding up pictures of their sons and daughters who were disappeared. They didn't go just for one day. They went every single day. They would not let this event leave the conscience of the country. Or like the people in the Occupy movement, who didn't just protest against what they felt were the injustices in the United States. They stayed there. They occupied. They were there every single day. And people like the AIDS activists in San Francisco who stopped traffic on the Golden Gate Bridge. And when people got out of their cars and said, "What has this got to do with me? I don't know you. I've worked all day. I want to go home to my family." The AIDS activists repeated what the Black Panthers used to say, which is, if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. That's why we're here.
So keeping not just the memory and the spirit of Al-Mutanabbi Street alive and known, but is there a sense of trying to recreate what Al-Mutanabbi Street once was, and has there been progress towards that recreation?
The street is back. The street is back. Books are being sold there. The Shabandar Cafe, the literary cafe where the car bomber parked his car across the street from that, has been made new. But the purpose of the project and the whole central issue of the project is not the street returning. It is the idea of attacking a street like that. Recently, the municipal government in Baghdad, in an effort to control the street, brought bulldozers at night and knocked down all the temporary wooden structures that people were selling books on from in front of the regular bookstores. My feeling is they did it to test the water for the future, to try and see how much of a response there would be from the Iraqi cultural community to them doing something like this. And there was a response. There was a strong response. But the danger is still, is always there.
What was the response from the
meetings,
community for that?
Declarations of the importance of allowing all the voices to be heard on Al-Mutanabbi Street, the feeling of expressions of solidarity, bringing all of the writers and artists and booksellers together as a group. There's a book in our artist book project that was done by a woman who lives in Brazil. And in the foreword to the book, she says, this book is dedicated to the artists and writers and booksellers and readers of Al-Mutanabbi Street. And then she says, at the end of this exhibit, I want the curator of this exhibit to burn this book. I want them to burn it. I dare you to burn it because I will make another. And every time you burn it, anywhere, I will make another. And that is part of this project. That is part of the idea of you may attack us, you may destroy these books, you may attack artists and writers, but we will come back. We will create another book. There will be another artist and another writer who will continue their work in all the honesty that they can muster.
Oh, thank you, so much for describing this project. And I know that you actually brought the anthology with you, and if you wouldn't mind to share with us a reading from that, I think it would, help to show the spirit of the project.
Thank you, thank you. Sure, I'll read a poem from the anthology. This is from the Iraqi poet Sinan Antoon, who's one of the contributing editors to the anthology. It's called A Letter to Al-Mutanabbi, Sinan Antoon. You were right, sir. Your words are still wings of light, always carrying you to us, sometimes carrying us to you. And your name is a green tattoo on Baghdad's tired face. Your street, a forehead of a body beheaded every morning. Just another chapter in the saga of blood and ink you knew so well. I cannot lie to you. I am quite pessimistic. We are still etching on the walls of this cave, which is thousands of years long, signs we keep reinterpreting and miss about a future world where we don't devour one another, where the sun is friendly and the seas cannot inherit our fever. Some of us are digging a deeper grave, about to embrace us all. They too have their engravings, maps, philosophers, and books. We can only keep dreaming of a shore for the wind and dig wells in the dark with nails of silence and solitude. We will weave an ocean out of ink for our myths, and out of words a sail or a shroud, vast enough for us all. Every book is a well around which we sit and drink to your health, try to live like you did, with death and after it.
Thank you, Beau, and thank you very much for joining us at the Arabic Hour.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
That was the conclusion of our interview with poet and bookseller Beau Beausoleil, co-editor of the anthology Al-Mutanabbi Street Starts Here. Thank you so much for joining us, Some stations will be leaving us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. For those of you staying with us for the remainder of the hour, we hope you enjoy the last musical segment following the closing credits. On behalf of all of the volunteers here at the Arabic Hour, this is Ghanwa Hakim, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
The Arabic Hour has been brought to you in part by the William G. Abdullah Memorial Library, a resource center for information and education on the Arab-American experience. The American Arabic Benevolent Association, ABA, an umbrella association for community endeavors. The Nicholas G. Barham Veterans Association and Ladies Auxiliary, providing veteran services, scholarships with community pride. And by our members as well as contributions from viewers like you.